Being on medication wasn't the answer for me. I was in the Coast Guard, and I was at the very beginning of my career. I was working in aviation, and I was the only female on the flight line. And it was a very difficult and challenging experience because it's not easy being a female in aviation back when I was in the Coast Guard. There were many people who didn't really feel that that was a place that I should be and that I didn't belong in aviation. So I dealt with a lot of disgruntled men, and it was one female and 150 men. And over time, I began to experience a lot of anxiety. I wasn't sure if I was gonna, get the support that I needed to finish A school. I just felt that everybody had their own intentions or their own agenda when it comes to like working with me. It just wasn't a comfortable experience, but I pushed through it, and I ended up switching rates and started working in the office for the command. And I thought maybe this would be a better experience for me, but the whole idea of just being in the Coast Guard just didn't suit me. So I ended up getting on medication because I really had a hard time coping with the anxiety and the anxiousness and the stress, and I just wasn't enjoying my life. And quite frankly, I had a degree and I hadn't gotten the commission that I wanted, and I was just very upset and angry with myself and the direction that my life was going. And so I ended up finding myself in a very dark place. And I got on medication, which never really helped. And then I started to get like really bad infections that just never seemed to go away. And then one day I had a conversation with somebody who was a Chinese medicine practitioner, and I just started asking lots of questions. And I wasn't too sure if that was something for me, but he definitely said that, this was something that could address what I was going through. And so I thought I'd give it a shot. I thought I'd try it out and see what it would do. The needles were a fear of mine because as a kid growing up, I used to have to get injections and vaccines because my dad was military. But something really miraculous happened in that first acupuncture treatment. The practitioner put a needle in my wrist, and he later explained to me that that point was a very powerful point, and that I would experience an emotional release, or I would just probably cry, or I would feel some electricity run through my arm. And I did. And while the practitioner was away, I could not stop from crying. I just couldn't hold back the tears. And when he told me this, what happened, I thought, what is going on? So after a couple of days, I went back for treatment, probably like the next week, and I had a lot more questions, and I continued to get more treatments, and I was just really grateful that I was in a space where I could get treatments, free, because that's what they were offering at the school that I went to be a patient at. And very quickly, my life changed. I was experiencing happiness. I wasn't so angry. Things that normally would bother me didn't bother me, and I had an appetite. That was like the biggest thing. Like I got my appetite back. So I continued to go, and I continued to get acupuncture for 2 years to continue addressing the challenges that I'd been living with. And one day, one of the students who was graduating from Chinese medicine school, she gave me a gift. She gave me a rock, and it said, "Imagine." And she says, have you ever considered coming to school and becoming a practitioner? She said, you'd be a great practitioner. And I thought, oh my gosh, this seems like such a complicated, career. I don't know that I would be able to understand how to even, how this would work. And she said, you'd be surprised. She gave me this rock, and it said, imagine. Imagine the amount of lives that you can change just by sharing your story and showing people how they can heal. She says, imagine we are living in a world where there's lots of people who are lost and people who were exactly where you are at, and you found something that worked for you. And not many people find that. So I took her rock and I took the gift, and I went away and I thought about it for a very long time. At the time I was working on a private yacht, and I needed a way out. I needed to figure out something that I can do more long term instead of being a chief stewardess on a private yacht. And I had a word with my captain, and my captain says, you know, if this is what you want to do, I fully support it. 3 days later, I was in traditional Chinese medicine school. It was a new semester, a new term, and I took a massive leap of faith. It was probably the most challenging 4 years of my entire life, learning everything that we had to learn, something that was in a completely different language and something that just was completely different from Western medicine. And in that 4-year period, I learned a lot about myself, I learned a lot about other people, and I learned a lot about what we as human beings are capable of doing. And it changed my life forever. And so today, I travel the world and I teach people about Chinese medicine. I teach people how energy moves. I teach people about how magnificent your body is and how you can change the direction and the course of your life if you really just trust and come with an open mind and consider doing something like acupuncture, experiencing Chinese medicine, because some of the ways that we diagnose a patient is very different from Western medicine. In my opinion, I believe that this is a modern medicine that has been redesigned. And as we learn more about quantum physics, and as we learn more about how energy moves and how energy works, we become more knowledgeable on what we call, in my medicine, qi. So I hope that this is a story that will inspire you to really not have any reservations about how your body heals and how Chinese medicine works. Because if you give it a chance, I'm pretty sure that you'll be surprised at the results that you could be getting just by making that decision.